Former Baltimore Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis is considered one of the most feared defenders of his generation. The two-time Super Bowl champ is the only NFL player with at least 40 career sacks and more than 30 interceptions. Ray Lewis is here in Studio 57, but first a look at a massive career.
Let's go! What time is it? Game time! Game time!
Ray Lewis spent 17 seasons anchoring a Ravens defense, often considered among the best in the league. Fans and teammates admired his intensity, speed, and leadership ability.
Is intercepted by Ray Lewis.
Lewis first gained national attention as a linebacker for the University of Miami and entered the 1996 NFL Draft after his junior year. The Baltimore Ravens drafted him in the first round before the brand new franchise had an official logo or uniform design. 4 years later, Lewis was arrested and charged in the stabbing deaths of two men outside an Atlanta nightclub. He spent 15 days in jail before pleading guilty to obstruction of justice. He was sentenced to a year probation and received a $250,000 fine from the NFL.
But like I said from the beginning, when this first started, I was innocent, and I'm saying it now that I'm innocent.
Lewis remained focused on football and won his first Super Bowl ring the following season. In 2013, the all-time franchise leader in tackles and fumble recoveries announced his retirement.
Today, I told my team that this will be my last ride.
That ride ended a month later when Lewis brought the Vince Lombardi Trophy back to Baltimore.
Baltimore! We coming home, baby! We did it!
Ray Lewis is also known for his charity work in Baltimore. His new memoir is called I Feel Like Going On. The book is published by Touchstone, an imprint of Simon & Schuster, a division of CBS. Welcome.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Let me begin with a little bit of football here.
Yeah.
As a linebacker,
yeah,
what did you want the quarterback to be thinking when Ray Lewis was across from him at the line of scrimmage?
Not a good night of sleep. I think the position from the historic point of view it's always been a position of fear.
Right.
Like that position is a position that says you really don't want to come that route. Right? And so that's why when I played against people,
whatever your plans are, change them.
Yeah, immediately.
But you had a very interesting thing, Ray, when you were growing up. Number one, you write very candidly in your book about your dad, about the incident in Atlanta, and about how you became who you are. And I was fascinated by what you do with a deck of cards.
Yeah.
That at a very early age, you say to this day you carry around cards.
Yes,
because what?
It was my way of finding a way through pain. Yeah. A lot of people think sports was the driving factor, but the driving factor for me was to make sure a man never touched my mom again physically. Mm-hmm. You know, I was raised in a very domestic violence home, and my mom is a very high yellow woman, so bruises show up on her very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I was a very scrawny, skinny little kid when I was younger, and so when I grabbed this deck of cards, I asked my mom for this deck of cards one day, and I was like, Mom, I need a deck of cards. And she was like, I don't gamble in my house. Yeah. And I was like, no, Mom, it's not for gambling. But it was my getaway that I never had a father to say, Daddy, I need help. Yeah. Daddy, come take this pain away from me. And so when my mom went through physical abuse, I would run to my room and I would flip these deck of cards. And if it was 7, I would do 7 push-ups. If it was the Jack, Queen, or King, I would do 10. If it was an ace, I'd do 25. If it was a joker, I'd do 50. Yeah. And so that became my way to say, you know what? No pain lasts always. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I started getting to a certain point to where I started realizing that no matter what pain I felt, mm-hmm. I could keep going. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think still to this day when I do push-ups, no memory is one thing about a child, and I've always said this, children learn exactly what they live. Mm-hmm. And no child forgets that pain. Mm-hmm. And that pain was kind of the driving factor of me.
And you carried that pain a long time.
You write about your mom giving you the name Ray Lewis after a Good Samaritan that helped her.
Yeah. First day I was born, you know, my dad left. Mm-hmm. And me wanted to know as a child, like, why doesn't my last name add up? Mm-hmm. Like with everybody else's last name, the family last name. And Mom sat me down one day and she was like, listen, I'll never speak a ill word about your father, but there's some things you need to know. And so I'm like, okay. And she was like, this is how you got your name. He's like, good friend, Ray Lewis is in the military. I couldn't pay the hospital bills. My mom had me when I was 15 years old. Yeah. My dad was my mom's babysitter, so however that worked out. And he left the day I was born. I was sitting in the incubator with no name. And she called him and she said, would you do me a favor? And he said, yeah. And so he came and signed the birth certificate as my father. And I met him my junior year. And I told him that day, thank you. And I promise to make your name great.
I'm going to make you proud. You said this to a total stranger, but you know, it's interesting. I was surprised that you write as candidly as you do about the incident in Atlanta. There's still a lot of bruised feelings there from the victims' families. And I'm wondering if you had to do that over, what you would do. It struck me that when the police came at you, you were not pleased, but you were combative with the police. You were confrontational. One point, the officer walks in and you hold up a finger like, wait, I'm on the phone. I'm just thinking, if you had to do that over, Ray, what do you want us to know about that?
You know, if I had to do it over, I would do everything differently. But, you know, it's kind of what's going on today, right? And back then, if social media existed back then, wow, how I could have used social media back then for camera phones to catch these incidents and things that's going on, right? My story would be totally different. You know, so when this guy approached me, you have to understand I had a 6-month-old child in my arm and I had a 2-year-old son holding on to my leg. So for a man...
The cop you're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. So when he approached me, the thing that I would tell any person that ever's in that situation, keep your mouth closed. Don't say nothing. But let's be brutally honest, right? If you've never been in anything like that, you don't really know how to react. And I've never, my mom, listen, trouble was the last thing ever that will come from my mother's, you know, family. And so when that moment happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, and me and him are going back and forth. And I'm realizing what he's doing is he's luring me into a trap. Because the same thing that I wrote in my book of me being guilty of obstruction of justice was me simply saying I didn't know everybody in the car.
No, you tell quite a story. The relationship with your dad, you worked it out, how you became who you are. It's a good read, Ray. Thank you very much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The name of the book is called I Feel Like Going On. It's on sale today. You're watching CBS This Morning.